evening. Happy May. Welcome to our final gathering of the semester. I hope everyone's had a really great week, and I'm excited for tonight because it's open mic night when each of you becomes a special guest. So I'm looking forward to muting and hearing from everyone tonight. We'll start with some thoughts from Tim.
Thanks, Cecilia. Excuse me, I have to put up with some coughing here. Um, Cecilia wrote and said, "Do you want to do words of wisdom tonight?" And based on research that I experienced since I last saw you, I think this is worthwhile. And the research was about what convinces people of different opinions. When you talk to somebody and they think one way, and then you want them to think another way, which is basically what we do as teachers, getting them to think about different things that we're presenting. And what is it about them that either assumes the information or shuts it down or cuts it off or whatever? And here's what the research found out that the information itself does not convince them. That you can speak forever, you can filibuster and have facts and have PowerPoints and everything else, and that won't do it. In fact, in many times it pushes them away from what you're trying to convince them because people interpret that as a threat, that you're trying to pull something on them or you're trying to push them into thinking a different way. And that's a change of habits. And we know people don't like to change habits. We're mammals. So we do fight or flight. And in most cases, people will take flight. So it was a bit threatening. So all of these years of me trying to convince people of something with facts and figures has sort of, in many cases they went, I don't care what you say. I'm staying with what I believe. So that's the first part. The second part was what do they listen to? What is the information? How does it have to be couched so it will be consumed or assumed, and then the person can make logical decisions on the information? Okay, we ready? Drum roll. It has to be presented by a person they trust. And that's it all when all the water's squeezed out. That's what it came back to. If they trust the person, they will open up and listen. Otherwise, it may actually make it worse instead of better. So that's a lot for us to think about as teachers, isn't it? That's it, Cece. It's all yours, kiddo.
Build trust relationships. We may have said that a few times this year or heard it a few times in our lifetimes. And one of these days we'll get that right. We'll actually take the time to get our head up off of the screen and make that eye contact with that kid and stop and write that thank you note to that parent who brought in the, cookie cake to celebrate the kid's, performance or whatever it is. But wow, yeah, that's great, Tim. Thank you for sharing. Tim or Scott, I know you have some thoughts to share with us tonight as well.
Yeah, so just a couple of things. First, this is I felt kind of nostalgic in a way, and with a couple of things. The first one is I went to 38 Tim Lautzenheiser workshops in my life, and I still haven't figured it all out. And the whole point there is that we need to keep we need to keep hearing that, right? We need each other. It's just right. We need to just keep hearing. And so one of the greatest and best things that we get to do with Slam are our Sunday night meetings. And I don't know about you, but it just recharges my batteries. It just sets the tone for the week. It's my therapy, in all honesty, and I just feel so fortunate to have such a great family of people to rely on. So just some thoughts. We get the opportunity to make an impact on the lives of young people every day. We get to collaborate and create music making in an environment where students fall in love with music. We get to create a culture of excellence that is based on both content and context. We get to believe in students even when they don't believe in themselves. we get to not give up on our students, even when the light bulb doesn't go on until they're like junior year or senior year in high school. And sometimes those are the most rewarding things, right? When we actually see them, we see the light bulb go on and we see them turn into that great leader, but we never knew when they were younger that it would even happen. We get to awaken possibility in students, both personally and musically. And we get to live in a world that's full of creativity, imagination, and wonderment. And we get to be a part of the greatest profession on the planet. And I don't know that it gets any better than that. So as we wrap up this semester, I just want to say thank you for being my Slamily. And thank you for what you do each and every day in the lives of young people. And we should just, we just have to cherish the fact that we get to do this every Sunday evening. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, we get to do some pretty cool things in our lives, and when they intersect with our Slamily, it makes it kind of extra special when you get to hear somebody's ensemble perform, or you get to listen to that recording, or listen to one of you speak, or see you interact with your kids. It's really pretty incredible to be able to witness all of those special moments and the relationships that you've built with your programs and the students in your program. So I'm just so grateful, as Scott said, and especially for those of you who are just so insistent about making time to be here on Sundays. And so tonight, I would love to hear from you. I'm curious, first of all, if anyone would be open to share just in what ways you feel like you've been able to make a connection between the work that you do and one or more of the SLAM tenets that we've focused on this semester. We kind of done a deep dive. You know, we're always talking about mindset, but we did our deep dive this semester in motivation, character, connection, and feedback. And I'm just kind of curious if any one of those sort of really resonated with you and you were able to take that and make it something more meaningful for you in your classroom with your students.
Yes, I certainly got the opportunity to do so recently. Specifically with feedback, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, maybe. We got somebody brilliant said feedback shouldn't be one direction, it should be a loop. And so the opportunity that helped me remember that was yesterday, as a part of leadership in the marching band program at Georgia State. I was leading a sectional for the auditionees, and I was counting them in, and one of the students was like, isn't that a 2/4 measure instead of a 4/4 measure? And they were right. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. And everybody in the section was like, oh. And I was like, thank you for saying that. You should never feel like in this section that your voice shouldn't be heard. Like, if you know that I'm making a mistake or any of the veterans are making a mistake, please feel comfortable to say that. That was awesome. Please continue to do that with me as the connection goes on. And it made me feel really good because it was like, even after 3 years of looking at the music, I still don't know everything. And I get to learn more things. And day one of this student getting the opportunity to meet me, if they felt comfortable enough to go, I think this is different, which made me confident in their musical abilities and their own musical confidence, and made me happy that I'm not being too authoritarian over how learning is supposed to go. So that was my opportunity very recently. And I'm holding that close to my heart.
Thank you for sharing that, Jaden. Congratulations. Super cool. Anyone else want to share? And it doesn't necessarily have to be about that. By all means, if just some remarkable things I'm sure are happening with you and your students on a regular basis. And it is open mic. So Allie, the floor is yours.
I have a story to share, and pardon me for it might take a couple of minutes, but it was a pretty astounding thing that happened for our band program 2 weeks ago. It was our spring break and we went on tour to New York City, and we took a really small group. It was about 30 kids in the band and the orchestra. So we put them together as a little mini symphony orchestra. And on our first day of the tour, we were supposed to go to a kind of a closed rehearsal with Jazz at Lincoln Center. And it just so happened very coincidentally that one of our 2020 grads, his name is Nate and he's a trombone player, he was playing his first gig as a sub with the orchestra, which was just like so wild that we were going to be in New York when that happened. So we, on the 11th hour right before the tour left, the education team at JALC emailed me and said, we're so sorry, due to unforeseen circumstances, we can't host you because we're changing our rehearsal location. And the new place won't allow any guests to be in there. It's just not big enough. So we'll have to catch up with you next time. So all of our kids were really like, especially the jazz kids, as you can imagine, were really bummed out because they were going to get 2 hours to just like watch the band work and watch their classmate be on stage with them. So we booked a harbor cruise. They were fine. Like we had a great day on Monday. And then on Tuesday morning, when we got to our rehearsal studio, which is this like warehouse in Midtown, we're in rehearsal for about 45 minutes. One of my students yells at me like, hey, Miss Lacasse, I'm pretty sure I just saw Nate in the window. I was like, you're crazy. Like, you're overtired. There's no way. He said, no, I'm pretty sure that was him. So I got off the podium, I left, and I walked into the studio next door, and it was Nate and the entire Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra next door, sharing a wall with us in this warehouse in Midtown. So I see I'm friends with the bass player, and he looked at me and he goes, what the H are you doing here? We're like, because he knew we weren't coming. He knew that we weren't going to be able to like see each other. So it was just this unbelievable coincidence that on an island of 8 million people, we were sharing a wall with Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra and our classmate, and it was just amazing. So Nate told Winton, like, my high school's next door. Can you come by and meet the kids and say something? And luckily it was like the perfect time. It was about a half hour before they were supposed to start rehearsing. And he walked in the door and you could just hear like, like all of the kids just caught their breath. And he went and shook the hands of all the brass players. He signed a bassoon with a Sharpie, a kid's saxophone. Like, I cannot believe, I saw this kid's bassoon and I was like, we have passed the point of no return. I love it. You're crazy. So Winton came in and he like met all the kids, and then he delivered this incredible speech about, I said, do you have any advice for them? They're performing tomorrow. And he said, just play the heck out of what you're playing, because these are moments of your life. And someday you're going to look back and say, like, I was in the band, I was in the orchestra, and you're going to remember that these were important times that you spent with your classmates. And no matter what you're doing, if you're in a concert and people are talking over you and not really paying attention, just still play the heck out of what is on your stand and make people feel you. Because your time in an ensemble is sacred and precious, and you don't get to do it forever with that specific group, with that specific music. And he said that the more you can dedicate and commit your life and yourself to something as beautiful as music, you're going to be in good shape. And it was just this like, we were in tears. Just the kids were so appreciative. And he said, we don't have any room, but come over anyway. He said, when you're on lunch, come next door. So our kids got to be like on top of them. Winton told one of our kids, Ryan, he's a really serious trumpet player, jazz trumpet player. He said, pull up a chair behind me. And his chair was basically touching his, like that close. And then after lunch, a lot of our kids started to trickle out because we had another rehearsal in the afternoon after that. So they're very politely, quietly leaving. And Ryan starts to get up, and I just said, no, you stay. Like, do not come to our rehearsal. Like, you stay right there. And he got to stay there for 90 minutes and watch them work. And it was just the most magical thing ever. So I don't know, there aren't that many coincidences like that that happen in life. And I just walked away thinking, I'll never stop smiling from this. I know these kids, they had a life-changing memory, but like the message was what we talk about all the time on Sundays. Like, this matters. Caring about each other, how we treat each other, how we treat our art form and our rehearsal process, everything is important. So I just feel very fortunate to be in the place where that could have happened. And I'm sure it won't ever happen again. But thanks for indulging me and letting me share. But I was just really proud of it and just, again, very fortunate.
That's pretty incredible. Thank you so much for sharing. So cool. Marcus, Dr. Morris, it's so great to see you here with us.
It is great to be here. Great to see all of you.
Tell us about your semester, your year.
So my year has been built on getting our students to make deeper connections. And one of the first things I asked them in our first leadership meeting last August was, how many of you can name someone outside of your section? And they all kind of stopped and thought, and a few of them raised their hand. And I said, out of the 430 of you, only a few of you raised your hand saying that you knew someone or could be able to name someone outside of your section. So we've got to do something to deepen our connections this year. And so what I said was we were going to create a plan. You're not only going to learn the people out just adjacent to your section. So maybe it's trumpets and mellows, or whatever, trombones and baritones and all that stuff. But then you're going to learn someone in the other family. So learn someone in percussion or in auxiliaries. But then I want you to take pictures this year. I want you to get these moments so that when you're going off and graduating and going other places, you're able to remember those connections. And we're going to take it a step further. When we travel this year and we see another band, we're going to find ways to connect with that group. And so that's why, and even in my own social media, every time we had another band, I'd make sure I'd get with one of the directors and say, hey, can you bring some students over, or can we come visit you? And can we take some pictures and just make some connections? And this year, in our course evaluations, which just came out, or we just got the results back, it was overwhelmingly over 80% of the group commented on that they felt they had a better year because they made more connections through pictures and stories and just connecting with other people. And so for me, that one of the last things I told the marching band in November, or not November, excuse me, in January, but then also told my conducting class last week is, think about this. You come to Georgia, you have to go to class because you kind of got to do that. But what you get to do is you're getting to leave here with connections that's going to last you for a lifetime. And so for me, it made me feel so great to know that I was able to just be a small catalyst to help them reach outside of what they knew, reach outside of their own little sphere of knowledge and comfortability, and just hopefully grab connections that are going to carry them the rest of their lives. So connections has been a big thing for me this year.
That's outstanding. Thank you so much for sharing. And that's quite a feat. I'm not sure how many of us really truly know when Marcus is talking about his 400 plus students, we're talking about the University of Georgia. That Red Code Marching Band is making connections from one end zone to the next. I mean, that's a pretty huge challenge. Congratulations, my friend. How about you, Scott Sheehan? Tell us about your year. I'm sure you've got a fantastic story or 20 to share.
Thanks, Cece. Well, I was sitting here reflecting on connections as well. Having been on the road for NAFME for 2 years, I came back and kind of bumped heads a little bit actually with my top ensemble in the fall. And it took me a little while. I would, kind of throw out those, hey, we're not working hard enough, we're not meeting the standard. That sort of language was kind of hitting me 2-3 weeks in a row in mid-October as we were gearing up for our first performance. And it clicked to me that none of the students, I teach in a 10 through 12 high school, and none of the students had ever had me full time. They had, for 2 years, they had like my two dads. They had me, and then they had my sub who was in for me 2-3 days a week, pretty much all year for 2 years. And the sophomores were new, so they didn't know any different. And so when dad's back home and we're ready to roll and there's an expectation that's here, realizing that for 2 years there was those lines were a little blurred. It was like kind of light bulb moments like, oh, I need to not throw out those little zingers about you need to practice more, you need to come to rehearsal prepared, you need, you knew you. And I needed to look in the mirror and go, oh, whoa, it's me, it's me, it's me. And then once that kind of epiphany happened, and I kind of switched the mindset of this whole thing, it became those connections and how important those connections with the students needed to become. Because although I knew them by name and what they played and who their parents were and all those sorts of things, that trust, going back to that key word, it's just critical. That trust wasn't there. Why? Because I was on the road half the time and they were like, oh, Mr. Sheehan's off doing his thing, whatever. And but that trust in the rehearsal, that trust in the music, that no, you can achieve, and yes, we can play Ghost Train. We really can play Ghost Train, I promise. Those sorts of things that we can do this together, and it's not me force feeding the rehearsal, and which when as soon as you flip that and it's students first, the whole thing just goes better. And I know how silly that is, and I've been teaching a very long time compared to some of the people on the screen, but even us veterans can learn those lessons, and they're sometimes so simple, but yet really we don't always see. I a lot of times I'm out doing those clinics and things, and I'll say the smartest people are the people who know what they don't know, because then you can figure out and you can do something about it when you know what you don't know. The happiest people are the ones that don't know what they don't know, because they're just out there having a good time. But truly, I reflect on that so much, because we don't always take the time to reflect on our own practice and what's really going on and getting underneath the layers. And one more little story to share, and this actually was not this year, but past years. I go out and I talk about culture and building culture and being responsive to the culture, the community, and really knowing your students and so on. And I asked the question, so what's the culture of your band? And I'd ask any of you on we all would, or ensemble or general music class or whatever. And we all, many people say, music is family. We're in it together. Back to those connections and so on. And I asked my students, so how would you describe the culture of our marching band? Oh my, I was not ready for the answer that came at me. Competitive, half-assed, I mean, yeah, things that I would not have seen. And again, you got to flip the mirror back on yourself. And this was a couple of years ago. This is when I started on my road trips, being gone more and so on. And so it was, I was thankful. I think they were comfortable and trusted me enough to tell me the truth, which I thought was, yes, thank you. We're gonna all just sit down and I'll wipe the sweat off my face and we'll talk about this. And because that's real life, your own students who care so much about the program, about you, they're gonna tell you the truth. And I said, well, what do we need the culture to be? And then we had a really great discussion. But I would, great advice for all of us is just to take that temperature check and that pulse of what do they think, because what they think is a whole lot more real to them than what I think. It's so easy to say those words, the band is family and we're all in it, we support each other, and on the outside maybe that's true, but if we don't feel that on the inside, it's a whole different thing. So those are a couple stories there for connections that are just, beyond important, I think.
Thank you so much, Scott.
I
Kat?
have a little story I'd like to tell. I haven't been around much this semester, more than just not getting the emails. It's just been back to back of a lot of things, and Sunday has been, I've kind of made an extra point to take that and make that my solace and solitude kind of day. But this year we played two pieces for our spring evaluations that were written by living composers. Two out of our three pieces. So I don't know how many of you guys are friends with me on Facebook, but I posted about them. I didn't really post any pictures or anything like that, but we played Sang by Wilson, and then we played Starship by Yukiko Nishimura. And they were wonderful enough to agree to Zoom call with our kids. And we went, couple of weeks of rehearsals, and we had spring break. No, we had our pre-UIL concert, which is pre-evaluation concert, and then we had spring break. We had a week of rehearsals, and then the next 2 Fridays we had Dr. Wilson and then Miss Nishimura come and Zoom call with them. And I don't know if the kids understood what that meant until it happened. And um, I was so happy that they were kind of awestruck. But even more so, they were even more appreciative of the music they were playing. They enjoyed the music. They loved the heck out of Sang. And of Starship as well, but Starship, they didn't realize how hard that was when we got started. And then, but, um, having them come in and making that other connection to the music and then to themselves, because one of the things I allowed them to do was I created a Google form for them just to pre-ask whatever questions they might have. And oh my God, these kids are asking some phenomenal questions, like freshman and sophomore asking about the composition process. All right, kiddos, yeah, let's go. And But yeah, they really, really connected with the music at a higher level after those talks, and they played the snot out of it at our evaluations, and they were kind of sad to finish that concert cycle because they were like, "Well, we love this music. We want to keep doing. Are you sure we're not keeping any of these pieces for the spring concert?" I was like, "No, we're gonna move on and do more music." But they're liking the music I picked, thank goodness for that too. But just wanted to share that experience with everybody.
Thank you so much for sharing. That's a great question, V. See David's question in the chat.
Cecilia, can I jump in here real quick?
Please, Steve.
So one of my jobs since I retired that I started this year is working for Fort Worth ISD, which is as an instrumental music specialist. So as you can imagine, Fort Worth is an inner city school district. And what's great about it is they've hired 3 retired band directors as specialists, and all of our jobs is to go and mentor and clinic and consult with a group of schools. So I have 5 high schools and their feeders. And so the others this are similar to that. And so these are kids that are very poor, inner city school with not great budgets, but it reminds me I have seen more joy and compassion and actually better discipline and better connections in places like Fort Worth than I go to some suburbs and they're just complaining and whining. The kids are not happy to be there. And it is because the directors make it a very positive experience for the students. They want to be there. They enjoy coming there. And we teach. It's not happy band. I mean, we teach and I preach that it's the combination of inspiration and information. You can be as inspiring as you want to, but if you're blowing into the wrong end of a trumpet, it's not going to make any difference how positive you are, right? We can be positive, but if you have a bad embouchure on the clarinet, it doesn't matter. You have to do both. And we've talked about that. And then it's how you deliver that information to the kids. They want to be there. And so it just reiterates that it's not about budgets and how big your building is. Rosemont Middle School in Fort Worth has the worst band hall in the world. And it leaks when it rains, and it's been raining a lot, and they're not going to fix it. They are getting a new band hall. It's being built. So they don't fix what they currently have because they're getting a new one. And so like it rained this weekend, and I know that there's going to be, we put buckets out on the floor, but there's so much joy for those kids that come, the directors, and they meet them at the door and they high five them. They actually, they keep snacks in the band hall because they know some of the kids aren't going to eat. And so they'll give them on the way out. they'll give them a bag of chips or whatever. And and it's inspiring. And then they perform. I would love to share some music with you that they perform, but it's pretty inspiring what they do. So, and Tim says all the time, right? The bands are your mirror. You make the weather in your classroom. And so regardless of the situation that you're dealing with, you bring your best every day and the kids will respond. And so it's been a truly rewarding experience for me to see the growth, because I really didn't know what I was getting myself into. You think inner city schools, what are we going to do? What do we deal with? The directors have been very happy and very open to my input. And, some directors, you know, I have to be brutal. You read the room, you have to be brutally honest with them. And we've had a discussion the other day. There's a difference between being hard and being mean to the students. I'm all for pushing and driving the kids, but don't be mean to them. This is how we could have done the same thing and gotten the same result in a more positive atmosphere. So those are the things I get to do on a regular basis, which is, for a retired guy to get to talk band all the time, I'm truly blessed. But just remember, it is about you. And if you don't like the way something is going, look in the mirror. As Lynn Jackson always says, whatever is going on in your classroom, you're giving permission for that to happen. So as we get towards the end of the year and we just start to reflect on what it is, think about the highs and the lows, what went well, what didn't go well, and how can you make it better, and as always, Slam is always here for you. If you're not sure what that looks like, reach out to us, record a rehearsal, let us look at it and help you be the best, as Scott says, be the best versions of yourself you can for your students, because they deserve it. And that's all I wanted to share. And that's just one of my many jobs I have. But right, Marcus. But it's been a fun, it's been blessing. And remember that you are a blessing to your students every day.
Thank you so much, Steve. And thank you for all that you do for all of us in SLAM as our managing director. Oh, don't just do that. The work that you do goes unseen. So I'm here to tell everybody, we're very, very lucky to have Steve and David taking care of our organization and making it possible for us to do all of this. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I know my friend Chad probably has some thoughts to share about his year. He is at his school for completing his first year at a new school. Do you want to share some things?
Sure. Hi everybody. As those of you that have far into the venture have started a new school, know the challenges and the joys that can be, and this year was no different. But this past week we were standing in the room. I was talking to my booster president, who happens to be a teacher at this school, and a sophomore boy comes up to me who doesn't normally hang out in the band room before school, but the last couple of weeks he had been. And he walks over and he's like, I have to tell you something. And I thought, oh, this could go one of two ways, especially this year. And he's like, I'm taking all this in and this is really cool. I didn't experience this last year as a freshman. He's like, I just want you to know that this year has made a difference. And we've grown a lot this year, and I'm really happy to be a part of the band. And this was a sophomore boy who was a little cantankerous and contentious all fall, and may had to have had a moment away from marching band one day just because of his behavior and his attitude. But to have him do a complete 180 and go the other way and take it in. And then I had another sophomore boy also this past week who wasn't a part of the marching band his freshman year or this year, decide, this band thing is kind of really cool. I was going to quit going into this year, but this year has been a lot different for me. So I'm going to keep going. I'm practicing more, and I think I'm going to do marching band next year. And it was like a big win just from the challenges of year one and, trying to change culture, change just kind of mindset and thought, but also being very cautious about that. So it was a big win for me and coming out of the end of the school year, going into this last couple weeks where we have concert this week and banquet this week and all the things. It's like, all right, let's go. Big push to the end. So that was like a big success for me this past week, which was a arc of the year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I think a lot of times we're always pushing for our kids to celebrate their wins. And every once in a while, as teachers, we need to be okay with the wins that you achieve for yourselves too, because it really ultimately is a win for your kids. Let's hear from Nathan, and then Brenda, I see you also have your hand up.
Hi everyone, greetings from Canada. It's been a wonderful year for us. We've been able to do everything as far as just busy, but yeah, I haven't been here for a few weeks, and one of the reasons was we were overseas on with our program, and we did our first trip back to Europe. We had the last trip was in 2019 with our program, and it was special on a lot of layers because last year we actually had a student from Germany with us in our program for a semester, and she was very involved and was in our concert band or symphonic band and jazz band, and went to festival and performed the winter concert. Had to leave at the end of January, but I said to her, let's stay in touch, get me in touch with your teacher over there, because she had told me she was from Munich or outside of Munich, and so she did. And lo and behold, if we weren't able to fly into Munich on March 20th and literally leave the airport, get changed at her hotel, and go straight to her school and share a concert with her whole program and that teacher, and that was so special on so many levels, with our students being able to know somebody when they got over there. And we were able to follow that up with spending some time in their school and getting to know how things rolled the following morning. And then we also connected up with a few other schools in the Czech Republic, and did similar kinds of things where the students were connecting with our students, and they themselves said how much that was a highlight for them, our students, because now they were getting to know a little bit of the land and the culture in the area from others of their own age, and so that was a win on all fronts for us, and left everybody feeling just more connected to that space, time, and area. So yeah, it was very special, and we've been doing a ton of stuff ever since. So with we just hosted a special guest from Sweden this last week, and our jazz band was able to uh, play a concert in one of the clubs in town. And so it's just been absolutely just a phenomenal year on so many fronts for us, very rich in all kinds of ways, with lots of great experiences and memories made. So yeah, it's been wonderful.
That's really wonderful. Can I be in your band?
I'm saying the same about your bands, people.
And I think I've said the same thing to Brenda about her band. Thank you for sharing. Brenda, what would you like to share with us?
Well, always be prepared, especially when the electricity of your school is the only place that you have none this past week. We were supposed to have our concert on Friday. We did everything virtual, not that I could actually teach band or choir virtually, so we moved it to Wednesday. But it's getting with all the offices and collaborating to the point where they collaborate so much that I had to raise my hand. They're like, wait, Miss Castillo raised her hand. I'm like, I can't talk over you all. Y'all is like so pumped and trying to work this all out. I appreciate it, but we got to do one at a time. And you can't tell me who you are because I have several screens of you all and I don't know who's talking. So we were able to work it all out, getting our rehearsals in, and we're going to do our concert on Wednesday. So, but last weekend was my first weekend. I didn't have anything to do with anything with the school or the honor bands or any. So throughout the entire school year, because we've either had auditions, we had honor bands, we had all say, we had district. I had a show because I'm also a music director for a show for school. So, but it was nice. But then it was like rude awakening. Guess what? We have to prepare for a concert. I have to say, I had a student that was on a retreat for her sophomore year retreat, and she came back and she slipped a note under my door, and it was a beautiful note because again, you never know who you're working with and all. And this student came in not a lot of self-confidence. And just because she didn't make it her first year in the honor band, I said, okay, let's see what we need to do. And then from here on out, she's not only made it in the honor band, she made it in the jazz band. And, she said, now I feel like I can run for an office. Well, we'll find out on Wednesday who gets, what she gets. I know she's going to get something, but I'm not going to say what it is yet. But again, it's the trusting in our own students. And I find that I share a lot of this with the teachers at my school. You have to trust the students and they have to trust you in order for you all to get things accomplished. And I have to say, I truly, truly enjoy my students and I love when we collaborate. I love when they say, Ms. Castillo, I think this was supposed to go that way. I said, yes, because I might be listening to something else and I might be missing something that I should have caught, but I didn't. So just tell me. I mean, let's fix it. And they're like, yes, we just need everybody ears open, pay attention. And it's not just the older ones, not the more experienced. It's even the young ones. If you hear something that we don't hear, tell us, let's fix it. And we're just going to be a better ensemble, whatever it is that we do. So all I can say is because I finally had a free weekend last weekend, um, this school year was awesome because of what my students did. And so I'm very, very proud of them. And we're just going to keep moving forward.
Here's to a few more weekends off for you then.
Yes. And then actually, then I have some of my choir students, we're going to Carnegie Hall to perform. So, and then I'll take my break from there.
Okay, I think I am heading to New Orleans next year since Jen is there. I want to see you in January.
Sounds awesome. Just let me know.
Of course. How about Joel? Would you like to share anything this evening? Christine.
Sure. I don't know that I've got a great story, and I'm glad I didn't have to follow some of the other some of the great stories I heard tonight. Just yesterday I took a handful of I want to say some dozen or so sixth graders to their first honor band. And it was a second year honor band, made up of people from around the Twin Cities, Minnesota, Twin Cities metro area. And because it was second year, the kids knew going in that there'd be a lot of seventh graders that they were playing in the band with. And so there were some nerves, one of those, show up at 8:30, concerts at 12:30, and that, and we rehearsed pretty much the whole morning there and then put on the show. So there were a lot of kids who were, nervous, had the music for about a week, and watching them, watching how they prepared and watching how they then handled themselves, at their first experience, really just made me proud of the work we've done. And you could kind of see them shift from like that immediate fear to like, no, we know how to do this. You guys know how to do this. Don't be intimidated by the older kids. And like I said, you saw that shift take place, and they ended up having just a really nice show and a really great time. And in my proud parent moment, my daughter was part of that too. And so watching her help some other kids tune up timpani and stuff made me especially proud. So it's just so.
Congratulations. Thank you so much, Joel. Appreciate it. Yes, Dr. Morris.
Do we have a minute to hear from someone who slipped on here? Now I see that he's on, from Mike Campice, who's representing not only Indiana and I believe Michigan, but representing all of us this week in Washington. Do we have a minute just to hear from him?
I was saving him for later.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I saw him
Since
slip
you
in.
already set him up, then I don't have to.
I thought I was gonna get booted out because I kind of Zoom bombed this thing, you know. I just kind of show up
You
halfway
did
through and so,
not
but
Zoom bomb.
no, good to see everybody. As I understand it, this is the last meeting for the semester, isn't it? Yeah, so glad I could catch it and see everybody and say hi because you know you guys are the main reason of why I do what I do and why I'm at doing what I'm doing here in Washington D.C. this week. But um, for those of you that know me, you know, I'm in my 25th year in the industry and very blessed to have been able to serve education with Con Selmer for many years, along with Dr. Tim. And, you know, just grateful for the SLAM partnership too and everything that this is doing for education. And for those of you that don't know, about 4 months ago, I got moved back into education fully for Con Selmer that I'm very excited about. For a couple of years, they put me into a position where I was fixing a lot of other things, sales, marketing, and many other things. And once we got those resolved, they said, "Hey, Mike, we need you to get your hands back on the steering wheel in regards to educational outreach and what we're doing as a company." So I'm very, very happy about that. And Tim and I have always been lock and step together, but Tim knows that, you know, it's best to have my hands back where it belongs. And so I'm back in Washington, D.C. this week with the NAM Fly-In. This is my 13th trip to Washington, D.C. on behalf of arts education, music education with NAM, representing Indiana and Michigan. And it's necessary work. And you know, back 13 years ago, when I first got approached about being a delegate, you know, I had my political head was from Fox or CNN, and that's about the gist of it. And I learned over those 13 years that you can build relationships with legislators, and they do care about education, and they do care about what's happening in our districts, and they do care about what's happening in the states and so forth. And we have about 175 appointments amongst about 65 delegates out here this week from across the country. And we're going to talk to a lot of senators and a lot of members of Congress about just all the funding aspects, Title I, Title II, Title IV. We're going to talk to them about NEA, which I know is a hot topic as of this last week here. And we have Amanda here from NAFME with us and other folks too that are helping, you know, in partnership and so forth. But you know, I think the biggest thing that I'm seeing out here right now is it's much different than any other 12 years I've been a part of. It's been a lot harder to actually get appointments because they have so much going on right now that's being thrown at them. And they're being a lot more direct saying, who are you and where are you from and what district and what's your zip code and who's your firstborn? And you know, it's getting to that level of, you know, they want to make sure the people that they're talking to are really part of their district and part of their, where before I would reach out, I'd have all my appointments booked 3 weeks in advance and it was a lot easier. So there's definitely a different climate of what's happening out here, but we've been able to secure a lot of appointments, and I feel good about the work that's going to happen this week. And I think the big thing I want to leave with everybody here today too is that the advocacy now more than ever is going to come down to the state and local level. And the more we can activate coalitions at every state in regards to arts advocacy, if you're not currently involved in a coalition at your state, or if there isn't one and you're interested in one, please let me know. I've been working with Bob Morrison on a whole uh, basically toolkit on how to create a state coalition. And he's put a lot of great thought into this. And we're trying to make it so we can approach states that currently don't have state advocacy coalitions and how to put one together. I've been a part of one in Indiana for about 10 years, and we're working on some things to actually shore that up a little more. But between state and local advocacy, that's kind of where the effort's going to have to be quite a bit over the next 3 to 4 years. And if anyone wants to talk about that offline with me, you know, after I get through my work this week, you know, I'm definitely happy to help support that. But that's going to be my week, and we learn a lot on Tuesday. We're going to get trained for a full day. I'll be downloading a lot of information from different legislators about what's happening on Capitol Hill and so forth. So I'll be able to do a good report out, and I'll probably put out a few posts and articles about that too before we hit the Hill on Wednesday. But I'm anxious to see kind of what's under the hood on Capitol Hill this week. And outside of that, I'm just thankful for all of you and what you do, and hearing your stories as I jumped on is just phenomenal. I also love Chris Herard's background. I think we all need that. Welcome, everything is fine. If I had that in my background, that would help me every day, I think. We're all going to be fine. But as a band dad this week, had a great week. My daughter got sophomore musician of the year at her high school. So very thankful for that. And her and my 16-year-old daughter, I have two daughters, 16 and 10, and the 10-year-olds just the 10-year-old just played Ode to Joy on the piano for me this evening before I jumped on because she's getting ready for a recital May 17th. So very thankful for those two and what they're doing. And that's typically what I'm doing on Sunday nights is getting my one daughter ready for biology and geometry tests and the other one for other things. So, but thankful to be here with y'all. And if there's anything I can ever do to help or any of my team members, please let me know. But I see a lot of friends on the screen here tonight and just happy to be here with y'all. And if you have any questions, please reach out.
And I'd say Mike is really one of us, one of you and your team. He even showed up for a booster training session on fundraising when he was here in Atlanta for a little bit. So we appreciate all that you do, Mike, for all of us in the trenches.
You know, the one thing, David, that struck me, I always thought those mattress sales were like kids with the mattress on their back going down the street. I didn't realize that they actually selling it. I learned a lot.
I don't know how they do it in Indiana, Michigan, but yeah. Okay.
Appreciate it, David.
I think Julie was going to share something about her band director group. Yeah? Please.
Okay, hello. So in our band director group is our school district group, and we have 9 schools, and this year we got 3 new teachers, and so it was like a really good chance to reinvigorate the whole community of our band director, like all the teachers, and it's been a lot of fun. Like this last week was a cool snapshot of like positive movement because we had a big jazz exhibition, which we always have a marching band exhibition where everyone plays for each other, but we got the chance to get a cool venue for taking all the jazz bands, and everybody played for everybody. And at the end, the guys were kind of like, yes, we should do more of this stuff. And I thought, yeah, we really should. So the kids had fun and they were writing each other messages to their schools afterwards. So pretty cool.
Love that. Thanks for sharing. Jonathan, how about from Michigan? What news bring ye?
Oh, I have like empty nest situations because all my interns have left me. I'm so sad. Like legitimately sad. I turned to my desk the other day and I'm like, hey, I gotta tell you, oh my God. So it's been a bummer, but at the same time, I love them to bits and we have some cool things cooking. My latest intern, Amanda Zoll, just graduated with her degree in education, policy and administration or something like that. So basically she's going to run the world. But if I have sharing ability, I have a 45-second clip that might summarize my thoughts. And it's from a student. We interviewed all of my students, and this is just one of the most recent ones that I've watched and got very emotional. So if you're willing to give me 45 seconds, here we go.
You're good to go.
Okay. Let's see if this works. I don't want to slow things down though. Okay. But yeah, we interviewed all our students and asked them about leadership in general, what they think of how we are running our program and with citizenship and servant leadership. And I hope the audio works. This is a little clip of one of my students. This is Sheree, and I think you'll enjoy it. Do you see her? Can somebody just give me that? And let's see if you can hear her.
Do that, or as a leader too, why would you want to do that?
Well, because I think an important part of leadership is bringing people together and not dividing them apart. And I think a lot of like great leaders have been revered for their ability to like speak in a way that brings people together. And even though young or old or like no matter the color of your skin or your gender or like sexual orientation or anything, that you all have one thing in common, and that's you're human, and we have to love each other because of that. And I think that translates into orchestra, so because music is feelings, and you know, I just putting all the ensembles together can showcase that we do go as one, which is like the whole orchestra motto. So
Yeah, so you can imagine Amanda and I have like 4 hours of clips like that right now that we're combing through, and it's just beautiful. And so we got a big project ahead of us, but we're excited. So just wanted to share.
And I hope we get to see more of that, especially in your Midwest presentation this December as well. Yeah, congratulations. It's a pretty special community that Jonathan's created. And I know following ASTA, I shared with everyone, Jonathan, I think right before you joined us on the call, that picture that you actually used in your Midwest announcement, but the picture of the older students sitting there arm in arm, listening to their colleagues, that didn't happen by accident, right? It's just such a natural manifestation of the love that's in your program. And it's pretty sensational. Taylor, and then I think David, before we wrap up this hour.
Sure. So I've got, hey everybody, a couple of things that are really energizing in my world right now. One's a little selfish because I've got a 3-year-old and she always comes to the spring concert. So I almost always end up doing a Disney piece with the 2 groups that I'm rehearsing. And this year I kind of got a wild hair and I was like, I'm just going to try it. I'm going to try to line up all of these parts of the music with video clips that I put together. And the number of parent comments, the number of student comments, the number of just like, especially in the bottom band, getting to feel like rock stars for a minute and not just be playing, some piece that we can throw together in 4 weeks, but really trying to make it feel professional. And the kids and the crowd roaring for the early band, the youngest group, it's still kind of, it's that along with my daughter asking for more is making my heart sing. And then I think one of the things I kind of wanted to chime in with earlier, because connection, I mean, always the thing that we're talking about, right? But it's fun to watch my students as we get closer and closer to leadership interviews, do interviews with each other. That's one of the big things that has helped turn our culture into a more cohesive mass, is that if you're going out for any spot in marching band leadership, you've got to interview every other human being that is going out for a spot. And it's a time sink. It's a lot. But I remember doing something very similar in high school and learning a lot about myself. And ever since we started doing that, the kids make time for it. Like, can we just hang out for like an hour after school on Mondays to do leadership interviews? Yes, you can, all day long. Oh, there's my fireworks. Awesome, cool, great. It's a good time of year, and I know we're all stressed. There's a million things going on. I didn't get home until after 10 o'clock every day last week. But the reality is this is some of the best time for the kids to be making connections and feeling like the young professionals that they want to feel like in our groups. So thanks for letting me share.
Thank you. David.
Oh, I think you wanted me to share a little bit about the summer. So there's several of you on here tonight that have been past participants in the crafting culture session. And there's some folks here that you can reach out to, like Paul and Jonathan are heading up some stuff that's happening in Chicago, and Cecilia and Taylor heading up some stuff that's happening in Atlanta. And we've got Chris on here that's going to be hosting some stuff in Calgary. And I'm leaving somebody out, Scott and Maurice, doing some stuff in Charleston. And if any of you that have been before, we're going to have the level 2 for the repeat folks in Charleston. And Tim's going to be at many of those, not all of them, because he's going to go to like Australia and do some like change the world down there, down under somewhere. But otherwise, he'll be with us most of the summer. But to me, I think of the ones that I've been able to be a part of, it's kind of Sunday night, except exponential, because it is what we're talking about. It's the connection point. To be able to get to hear what other people are doing in other states or in different places, or what the choir folks do. Is like, why have we not done that in band? Or anyway, so a lot of stuff we've been talking about, that's exactly what happens at Crafting Culture. And like, even for, I couldn't help but think about Taylor's stuff, talking about the whole hierarchy, and just Steve was talking about it. You can't really reach your kids until you figure out how to meet some of their basic needs. And whether that means snacks or whatever, or, when we were talking about the mirror reflection of things, we're talking about, that's about meeting the needs of our students, and how are we motivating them, and are the challenges we experience in our classroom, are they because the kids have the issues, or is it because we haven't varied the way we've been doing things for the last 3 days, and we need to change some up our teacher feedback, where we need to figure out what to do differently to motivate, or maybe we need to connect a little deeper to learn and understand the kids in front of us that are having the challenges. Maybe it's because we don't really understand them to know how to properly motivate them. So those are the kinds of things that we explore at Crafting Culture. So I hope that you'll give that some thought, because I know for me personally, it's been an enriching moment, because we get to connect and learn from each other. And I'm excited that we have that opportunity to do that in so many places, because maybe that'll make it easier for folks to be able to get to some of those different opportunities, because there happens at different dates in different locations and travel and all that kind of stuff. But I hope you'll give that some thought. And if you have questions, reach out to some of those people that just kind of waved on the screen, that know more about the different specific locations. So there you go. Thanks, Steve.
Oh, thank you, David. And Tim, I'm gonna jump ahead of you and then let you close it out, because I really think that all of us would like to hear from Tim last. So I just want to take an opportunity to say thank you to all of you for allowing me to serve in this capacity. And I hope that SLAM has been a powerful agent, an opportunity for you to make positive change in your life. And I want to go back to that quote from Martin Luther King, that everyone can be great because anybody can serve, right? You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and verb agreement to serve. You only need a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love. So I pray that each of us have enough grace and gratitude and love to give all that we have to those that we serve each and every day. And I want to wish everyone a happy Teacher Appreciation Week and the absolute best wishes for the rest of your school year. Tim, they're all yours.
Thanks, ZC. Excuse me. Two quick things. One is in a session this week, just a great group of kids, just unbelievable. One little girl, she drug her feet for probably 70% of the session, finally turned around at the end. Afterwards, she came up, she said, "Oh, I get it now, I get it now." And I'm trying to figure out how to tell her, do you know how much collateral things could have been better, the damage that was done? And then, you get on the plane, you think about it. I'm like, well, Tim, in the sessions, are you always smiling? Are you always nodding? Are you sitting on the front edge of your chair? So she was really a good teacher for me. Got a nice note from her today that one person makes a difference. That is not an issue. The question that begs the answer is, what kind of difference do we make? We all know this. You're not supposed to have teachers' pets, right? We're all told that. And several years ago, I was teaching at a university out in Pittsburgh, and there was just a wonderful young gal in there, and just watching her grow and become a great music teacher, and then become the president of SLAM. It's just a great thing to do. And CC, nobody in the world is prouder of you than Tim Lautzenheiser. You know I love you and adore you, and you have done a phenomenal job as president of the Servant Leadership Association for Music. So we give you a standing ovation, sweetheart. You are the best of the best of the best. And to all of us, let's stay in touch during the summer. It'll be a lot of fun. I'll let you say goodbye, Cece. This is your last shot at it.
Love my Slamily. Thank you. Make everyone's lives better because of who you are. Have a great night. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Scott, David, Paul, Allie, Steve, everyone. Michaela, always glad to have you with us. And Jaden, you're going to be a rock star someday. Amanda, swag love, girl. Mike, I'm glad you made time tonight. Thank you so much, everyone. Christina, Chris, Joel, Rich, everybody. Kristen, I'm going to see you in Maryland again sometime.